Hey there! When it comes to media, it's only natural for fans to try and predict and theorize how it may end, or figure out that plot twist. Whether it be the ones that are on the spot like Jon Snow's parents, or ones that were better than what we actually got like Supreme Leader Snoke being Darth Plagueis, or the really wacky ones like the mother from How I Met Your Mother was dead the whole time. What the Well, all that applied when Dragon Ball Super aired. Very recently, I covered the timeline from Dragon Ball in 2010 to Dragon Ball in 2018. You know, all the stuff that happened to the Dragon Ball community during those times. And from 2015 to 2018, that's when Dragon Ball Super aired. I basically covered most of all that, and I especially noted some fan theories there and there. But with this video, I'm going to dive deep into them and further explain them, as well as ones that I forgot to mention. Now sit back and relax as we're going to go for our first debunked theory. Beerus woke up early? A time skip after the Resurrection F film? When Dragon Ball Super premiered, a lot of us were under the impression that the series would take place after the Resurrection F film, but the first episode threw us off by taking place after the Kid Buu fight, with Beerus being awake, which confused a lot of the audience considering that we have seen Beerus wake up for the Battle Gods film, so the timeline doesn't quite match up, unless Beerus woke up, had a midnight feast, and then went back to sleep. And this is how the timeline stitches together with the films. Nonetheless, by the time we reached episode 3 or chapter 2 of the manga, that was when we learned that the series was readapting the Battle of Gods arc, which apparently was Toriyama's idea so that kids who are new to the series won't get confused by the new characters or the new transformation. But if you ask me, there were a few plot holes in those films. A female Whis? What is her name? When Dragon Ball Super was announced, there was this promo image featuring a new God of Destruction and also his assistant. They gave us the name for the God of Destruction, but not for his assistant for whatever reason. But considering that Toriyama named the gods after different types of alcohol, and she basically looks like a female Whis, well, we just called her Wine. For obvious reasons, it's because it sounds closer to Whis' name, and it seems elegant and feminine, I guess. But it wasn't until the Universe 6 arc begun in the manga, where they formally introduced her as Vados, and thus began the weird shipping between her and Goku. Worst wish in history. What did Goku summon? So after the Battle of Gods movie was released, we got a teaser trailer for another Dragon Ball Z film. It looks like Goku might have summoned Shenron, and there's text that says, "There is someone I want you to revive," followed along with Shenron granting that wish, and then we have the tagline, "The worst wish in history." So a lot of theories were that Goku wished for the original Super Saiyan God to be revived, mainly due to how the original Super Saiyan God was just this mysterious entity, and we knew very little of. However, the main issue was, when Shenron was explaining the story about the Super Saiyan God, they had asked beforehand if they could summon him, but Shenron at that moment had to clarify that there's no Saiyan deity like that at that very moment, but then explain how to create one, that is. So you would think at that very moment that Shenron would have given Goku an option to revive the Super Saiyan God. Another possible wish that people have thought of was that Goku might have used Shenron to summon the other gods of destruction. Well, I think this is one of those predictions where I think it has some weight and logic to it. The Battle of Beerus left Goku stumbling upon a new realm of power. His loss to Beerus and having the power of the Super Saiyan God still within him only made him excited when he learned that he's only in one of 12 universes, with Beerus' admission that they spawned warriors mightier than them. But here's the thing, we didn't know what the other gods of destruction were like. Were they just as relaxed as Beerus, or were they more zealous for their passion of destruction? Would they be mad that Beerus never fulfilled his promise of destroying Earth? But oh man, if only we had the hindsight of knowing that we'll see the other gods of destruction in 4 years. Maybe we shouldn't have overlooked that other tagline at the very end that says Golden Week. What did he do to Vegeta's Bulma? Is he transforming into Super Saiyan 3? On Dragon Ball Super Episode 7, Beerus had slapped Bulma, and this is the series recreating the "That's my Bulma" moment from the Battle of Gods film. And the episode ends on that, but Vegeta is still powering up. And given the angles and shots of him powering up, it looks like he could be transforming into Super Saiyan 3. And you would think that the episode preview would debunk this, but no, there's only 1 second of Vegeta powering up and not a single tease of their fight. Nevertheless, when episode 8 came, Vegeta was in regular Super Saiyan 2. So the main reason why people thought that Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta would have happened was most likely because the series was retelling a film that people have already seen before, and fans like myself were wondering what was the purpose of even doing this. And to be blunt, judging from that episode preview, it seems like the creative team knew what they were doing, and this is not the first time that they'll be doing this. But hey, at least we know what a Toriyama looking Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta would look like. Who's flying that spaceship? Is that Bulma's daughter? So this one didn't technically need to be debunked by the anime, but to explain, during the episode preview for the Universe 6 arc, we see a blue-haired baby driving Jacko's ship, and some fans thought that this was Bra or Bulla, however you want to pronounce it. But these fans are overlooking the fact that the manga was ahead of the anime at the time. Vegeta and Bulma still haven't had a daughter in that adaptation, so therefore it should be the same for the anime. And considering it was going to be a Jacko-centered episode, it should have been clear that this is a reference to the Jacko the Galactic Patrolman manga, where in the very end there was a baby Bulma. But just like with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, it seems like the creative team were in on that, because when the episode was released, they put a flashback filter on it. Like damn, even the animators knew that the fans don't read the manga. The episode preview even has Goku and Vegeta staring at her flying. Now that is some textbook deception right there. Super Shenron isn't even a dragon? He's the creator of the series. Believe it or not, when they established the Super Dragon Balls, people wanted to know what the Super Shenron would have looked like. Well, one theory was that it was just Akira Toriyama, which I guess is because he's the creator of the series, he can do whatever he wants. There is the contradiction that he does make cameos in the manga. Well, who's to say, because he's all-knowing and all-powerful? Well, actually, he can say it because Super Shenron ended up being a super big dragon. So there goes that theory. Future Trunks is back? The Time Patrol in Dragon Ball Super? After the Universe 6 arc finished, Toriyama announced the return of Future Trunks along with a new bad guy called Goku Black. But by this point we were aware of what Trunks was up to because of games like Dragon Ball Online and Dragon Ball Xenoverse. And saying that Xenoverse 2 was in development at the time, it could be that these two stories would have interlinked with each other. The trailers for Xenoverse 2 was teasing the return of the Timebreaker Bardock from Dragon Ball Online, so maybe Goku Black was that Timebreaker Bardock. Well, that theory got punctured when they released the promo art for the Future Trunks arc. Not only is Goku Black an evil Goku, but Trunks is not wearing his Time Patrol uniform, so it looks like the Future Trunks arc was going to be a unique story after all. Who is Goku Black? The biggest mystery in the Future Trunks arc was Goku Black's identity. One of the most common theories was that this was Goku from the Future Trunks timeline, but he regained his Saiyan memories, and that's why he's on a path of destruction to finish the job that he had yet started. The reason why it was theorized that it was future Goku was because during this fight with present Goku, he would clench his heart, which might be a reference to the virus that took his life. But despite that, the memory recollection got debunked during the Granola arc. Goku got his memories back, but he didn't go rogue and kill everyone on Earth. The next theory about Goku Black was that he was a time remnant, a spiritual entity that was created by Trunks when he went back in time to save Goku. Because remember, if Trunks had not gone back in time, the androids would have killed everyone on Earth and then Cell would come in just to absorb them. So the planet was destined to be ruined. So the time remnant is correcting the timeline to make sure that would happen, in the form of Goku's body, all due to Trunks saving Goku in the past. And then there was the wackiest theory: Goku Black isn't actually Goku, it's Goten. So one of the theories I read about this was that Zamasu went back in time and kidnapped Goten and raised him as his own. So Future Trunks is fighting the best friend that he has never had. But I wasn't aware of this theory until it was revealed that Goku Black was just Zamasu. So personally, I wouldn't theorize that Zamasu would kidnap Goten, because why would he kidnap a mortal? He hates mortals. But I would have fused the time remnant theory with this one so that the spiritual entity took the form as a future Goten, because Goten was never meant to exist. So out of all the men, women, and children that were never meant to be born, why not take the form as the strongest one of them? Not to mention Goten used to wear long sleeve gi, just like what Goku Black is wearing right now. But yeah, it was just Zamasu. Is that end of Z Trunks? A time skip finally happened? So when we got the episode preview for the Dr. Slump crossover, there was a frame where Trunks looked different. Immediately people were clocking in and saying that there was a time skip. Well, when the episode came out, that wasn't true at all. And unlike the case with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta or the baby Bulla, I don't think there was anything deceptive about the episode preview. It was just one of the main issues with Yamamura's artwork. When a character looks slightly off model, they just don't look like themselves. Universe 7's winning wish, Trunks' timeline returns. So the biggest issue that a lot of people had with the Future Trunks arc was the ending. All that effort for Trunks' timeline to be erased, and just for him to go to another timeline where him and Mai already exist. So the theory to course correct this ending would be that Universe 7 would have to win and then wish back for Trunks' timeline back. However, that would ironically create another dull ending. Like yeah, Trunks will get that happy ending, but that would mean erasing 11 other universes that we haven't even explored yet. But we do see a similar rectification when they brought back Frieza, because remember, they brought him back to life with Resurrection F just to kill him off again. And with Frieza back, it changes the whole perspective of that film. Like Frieza needed a timeout so that they can pursue other arcs. Gohan gets his groove back. During the Tournament of Power, it was heavily theorized that Gohan would be the MVP of the tournament. Considering that he was murked in Resurrection F and then he was left out in the other arcs, it did seem like they were silently building him up. Even in the episode when Piccolo was training Gohan to re-unlock his potential, Piccolo states that Gohan could go further. And this is where those Gohan Blanco memes probably originated from. Even in the 9th ending theme of the series, Gohan runs by Goku's side, which implies some importance to his character in this tournament. But unfortunately, he loses by sacrificing himself to Dispo. But at least Blanco became canon. Hit is still in the tournament, a time clone. After Hit was eliminated from the tournament, a lot of people were in disbelief that he got knocked out that soon. So there's a theory going around that Hit used his time skip ability to clone himself. This might also stem from his rematch with Goku, where we learned that he can store the time he skips in a special pocket dimension, so he can enter and exit that dimension, thus leaving a phantom or a clone behind. And this will get fully debunked by the anime when Universe 6 gets erased. The Grand Priest's ulterior motive. So when the Tournament of Power started, a lot of people were skeptical of the Grand Priest, probably because he seemed pretty unbiased and loyal to the Zenos, and we've seen this trope of movies and television before, the super loyal assistant portraying their master. I mean hell, this happened in OG Dragon Ball as well, and sometimes was shown in animes and manga. The bad guys would usually interrupt the tournament arc. As time passes by, it seemed very unlikely this would have happened. The most that we got that could have connected with this theory was when Universe 9 was erased and their angel was given the smirk, but yeah, that's just about it. Return of the Super Saiyan God, Yamoshi. When the 2018 Dragon Ball Super movie trailer came out, people wanted to know who Goku was facing. Well, all the way in November 2017, there was an interview with Akira Toriyama about the origins of the Super Saiyan God, Yamoshi. This was just random lore that he just threw in our way, wasn't even accompanied by a drawing or anything. So when we saw the antagonist in the movie trailer, well, he gave off some Saiyan vibes. And so maybe that story and that interview is gonna be paid off over here. But that's until the Dragon Ball Super Broly poster came out. I definitely can't say that we were disappointed. In fact, just more confused and hyped, if anything. Maybe one day Yamoshi's story will be animated. Broly's first victim is Frieza? So when we got the Broly movie trailer where it showcases who he's going to be fighting, there were questions about how Broly would interact with Frieza. One suggestion would be that Broly would kill Frieza, which for story purposes is to elevate his antagonist level. And maybe this is how Paragus and him steal Frieza's spaceship along with his subordinates, and then they would go to Earth to get their revenge on Vegeta. And to further elaborate on this prediction, it wasn't made clear what this version of Broly's personality would be like. For all you know, this is the same guy that screams Kakarot and still slept next to a crying Goku. I'm kinda glad that this one didn't come true. I'm fine with the trope of a new villain killing the older villain just to look better in comparison, but killing off Frieza again, I don't vibe with it. Dragon Ball Super superhero's real villain, Raditz? After Raditz died, it's fair to say that there was a large community of fans that wanted him to be brought back to life. After all, he was Goku's brother. Nevertheless, it was never made clear on what happened to his body after he died. And given that Dr. Gero was around taking DNA samples from different characters, there was a perfect chance for him to take a whole dead Saiyan body. And before the superhero film came out, there was this fake image going around of what looks like Raditz in a pod or something, which may suggest that Raditz would come back as an android. And we know that the film is going to be centered around Piccolo and Gohan. And reminder, who was the first villain that these two characters first fought? The answer to that would be Raditz. It's like poetry, it rhymes. But no, instead we got Cell Max. Yeah, I don't think this dude's ever coming back. It was a dream all along. Besides those, the main character was in a coma all along theories, the it was a dream all along ones feels like a non-edgier version of that. I've heard this one a long time ago from some Dragon Ball YouTubers, where they're trying to theorize how Dragon Ball Super can connect to Dragon Ball GT. The theory being that Dragon Ball Super was taking place in Pan's dream the whole time. So when she wakes up, she's continuing her life in the GT timeline. Besides this idea being kind of lazy, boring, and whatever, we would also have to take note that the Battle of Gods arc is still in that Dragon Ball Super timeline. Pan was still a fetus then. Is it even possible to dream of events and be a fetus during those events? But yeah, this is absolutely the worst one. And that is it. Those are all the theories that I remember. If you know of any more, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you're wondering if I'm going to do the same with OG Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, or Daima, most likely not, if I'm going to be honest. Mainly because besides Daima, I didn't grow up with the other shows when they're broadcasted. They were kind of behind my time. Depending on how well this video goes, I might research and look for any crackpot theories that people came up with when those shows were live on air. But yeah, that's about it. I'm currently working on Dragon Ball in 2019. At the moment, I'm kind of on the scripting process. In fact, I don't even have the mascot for the thumbnail yet. If you do have a suggestion, please comment down below. Maybe I'll do a weekly video from time to time just to keep the viewer engagement. And that is it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.